The film single lens reflex camera has a pretty good life. It sort of started in the 60s with the Nikon F, developed through the 70s and 80s. By the 90s the cameras were lighter, far more automation, still being able to do manual settings. So by the year 2000 we got, I think, to the fully developed SLR. And there was a lot on the market, competition between Pentax, Minolta, Canon, of course Nikon. The two that seemed to sell incredibly well were the Canon and the Nikon. The Canon was the one that I noticed around the most, and at the time Nikon was still doing some high-end cameras, but I thought then that their range of amateur cameras was slightly plastically, and I wasn't, to be honest, too keen on it. And this was back in about the year 2000, 2001. Nikon, the basic SLR was the F65, and as the numbers went up, the quality. The F100 was considered to be a semi-professional and a good camera, and then you could get the F3, F4, which the F4 being the professional. I think they were even onto the F5 then, a highly professional piece of kit. I've recently got hold of I've had a couple, but I've got hold of this F65. The F65 I think came out in 2001 and took over from the F55, but it was basically the entry model. And we've got an on-off switch here. It came with a standard 28 to 80mm Nikon AF lens. On the dial here, very similar to the Canon 300s of the time, you've got a manual, automatics, shutter, priority or program, green for idiot or automatic, and then you've got some what they used to call creative modes, like you've got portrait, a landscape, a close-up, a sport. So very straightforward to use. The viewfinders are nice because you get a lot of information. You get your shutter speed, you get your f-stop. You think, well, we always get that in a digital camera. You didn't always get that information in a film camera. And these are very close in many senses to the modern DSLRs we are so familiar with. They are quite light to use. I was always, as I said, a bit skeptical of these, but I've used one recently, well, this one, and I was really impressed with it. Why was I impressed? I think the handling, it focused quickly, it metered well, really easy to get all the information in the viewfinder, very bright viewfinder, as I said, light. I was quite surprised, but I actually enjoyed using this. I was thinking of a F1 or F2 as being the great camera to use. This was so light, it was a pleasure to use. And the images, sharp, clear, and I was quite pleased with the images. And I put some on the end of this video. These are moderately common to buy. They do not go for the high prices you see other film cameras going for, especially things like the OM1 and the OM10s and the K1000s. These, you might find one out of a car boot sell for a £5 or a £10. Maybe a little bit more online, but not an enormous price. Nothing against Canon, but I have had a lot of problems with what I call the death of Canon. Is you switch on a Canon, and I'm talking about the EOS series, and you get this blinking battery, which basically means there's a malfunction. So in summary, these are cheaper than some other film SLRs on the market. They are really nice and easy to use. If I was you, find one and have a go.